Professor X, let's get going. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Ray, we're going to start off with a Geek Lightning Round. Are you ready?
Yes.
It is time for us to settle a debate. I was thinking about this today. It's cliche, and I don't care because we've never discussed it on the show. Instead of a non-sponsor today, Ray, we're actually going to select next week's non-sponsor through a quick lightning round debate. Okay. What is the bigger geek drink? Coke or Pepsi? We must decide today. I think it's Pepsi. Perfect start to any debate.
No, I think it's Coke. I think it's Coke.
Okay, sir.
So first off, I mean, Coke is obviously the most popular brand. Obviously, I think everybody's drinking Coke, right? But I think I remember the Coke commercial for Batman '89. I remember, in fact, actually, a lot of Batman products surround Coke, right? Even the McDonald's Happy Meals, it's always served with a Coke or a Diet Coke. To me,
that's
Coke.
More McDonald's though. But
before Batman '89, I remember very distinctly that Alfred gives Batman a Diet Coke in a commercial when he needs a charge or whatever because of the caffeine. There's a commercial, I swear, for Batman '89 with Coke. Or I think it was actually might have been Diet Coke, but Coke to me, Batman and Coke.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to get you now. All right, because you said it might have been Diet Coke. First off, I'm a believer that Diet Coke is better than regular Coke. Okay, that's my personal preference. I've always liked Diet.
I like them both actually pretty equally.
I don't mind Coke, but Diet Coke, if you had to make me pick, I'm picking Diet Coke.
Well, that's because it's full of Splenda and it's something else.
It's something else. Right? but this is what I'm going to say to you. You're saying the Batman '89 and the McDonald's stuff. I remember all that stuff too. But you know what I remember is Pepsi and Star Wars. Right? There was a lot of Pepsi Star Wars type ads and Pepsi things. Now here's the other thing too. I think if we're talking the ultimate geek concoction, a libation, it's which one has more sugar? Which one's going to keep you up longer?
Well, no, see that's Pepsi. Pepsi has more sugar, but does Coke have more caffeine?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I don't know either.
This is why it's a debate.
Pepsi is the sweeter drink. That is confirmed. That is for sure.
I prefer Pepsi over Coca-Cola, but
no, I prefer Coke.
Prefer Diet Coke over lots of things.
Diet Pepsi's abomination. I mean, I'm sorry.
I don't even know that exists.
It's you don't want that is awful. Awful.
I have had caffeine-free Diet Coke, which comes in the gold can, which I always thought was funny.
That's kind of pointless.
The only thing I could think of every time I drank a gold can of anything is Mr. Fusion and Back to the Future 2 when he throws that beer can in there, which happened to be gold. I think it was Miller High Life or something like that. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Pepsi's my go-to drink. I prefer Pepsi over Coca-Cola, blue versus red. But this is not a micro clip. This isn't a mashup. It's just we need to know what you think at home.
I also really like Coke Zero.
I like Coke Zero too. But to me, that's not a geek drink. That's like what I get on the plane.
No, Coke Zero is not a geek drink. Coke Zero is kind of an everyday drink.
When I'm flying, Ray, and I'm feeling a little edgy, I'm like, give me the Coke Zero.
Give me the Coke Zero. You're feeling really edgy, you get it with side of Jack Daniels. But it's a whole other story. True. It's very edgy.
This is a debate. This isn't as easy as I think. It's definitely Pepsi for me.
And the thing is, I've had Pepsi on the show before.
Well, then that makes it the clear winner. You never had Coke on the show.
Vamp for 30 seconds. No, vamp for 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Vamp.
And that's going to do it for Geeks Who Like Sports. I'm Lee Elias for Ray in beautiful Los Angeles, California. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Goodbye.
Here's my Coke Zero. I have my Coke Zero. I know it's not the same as regular, because I just finished my regular Coke. I had Coke.
Zero doesn't count for this conversation.
I had Coke also, but I'm all out of Coke, so you have to deal with Coke Zero.
I bring crystal clear Pepsi into the conversation.
No.
Which is an ultimate geek drink. All right, but I'm not going to do that because it's disqualified. It's the Deadpool of sodas.
Coke products forever. Coke products. Or whoever wants to sponsor us.
Someone's going to write in Rasta.
Look, if they want to give us free soda or they want to give us money, I'll
Coke, Pepsi, you can settle this debate right now by being
that's
the
right.
official sponsor.
We are for sale.
Yeah, you better get here quick because you never know what's in this mug. You never know. Right now it's coffee.
Right.
But I'm really tired because I didn't sleep last night. But that doesn't matter. That's Geeks Who Like Sports debates starting off the episode strong today.
Strong debates. Yes, we got. That's just indicative of how great a show we have. And honestly, we have a great week coming up. We're going to be on the Geek Saga tomorrow night. We're going to be guesting on that. Which is going to be live right during the first period of Rangers Panthers. So you might get some live Ray reactions to the game that I'll have on in the background. I'm sorry, I can't not have it on in the background.
I'm going to have it on too.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the whole episode. If you guys are watching, it's just like
no, exactly. When we're not talking, we're going to be watching the game. But
the bread man.
Yeah, sorry, Eugene. We might not be the best guests tomorrow. But yeah, then it's also going to be Memorial Day weekend next week. So again, obviously thank you to everybody who serves and obviously who serves in the Army and the armed forces and whatnot. Memorial Day is for you who have and currently serve. And that'll be next week. That'll be fun. I'll actually be in San Diego. I imagine the Padres will be wearing their camouflage uniforms. At least one of the games.
Yeah, no. Memorial Days is always a great reflection on memorializing those who have served, but it's also a great day and reflection for those who do and are veterans as well. So obviously, with my wife serving in the Air Force, my father served in the Army. I'm a big pro-military person. So God bless all of you.
Yeah, my grandparents, my grandfathers served one in World War II, one in Korea. So yeah, we are all for
and Ray and I served in the Geek Wars of Pepsi and Coke.
Yes, that's right. Pepsi and Coke. We were in the Clone Wars.
We were the Coke Wars? No, the Clone Wars. The Coke Wars were Los Angeles in the 80s.
Yes, yeah.
And today, for that matter.
Yes, no, for sure. And then, yes. And then we've got also now a lot of sports wars going on. A lot of cities are, everybody's fired up. New York made some good runs. We're going to get into it. Again, big show for you folks. We got some Batman news. We got some Assassin's Creed news. We've got a lot of gaming news, actually. Some good, some bad. I'm gonna do a quick couple of reviews at the end of the show, and we've got X-Men 97. We're gonna do our full review of that full series, the full season, and the season finale. We got a little bit of football news, a little bit of baseball news, very little bit. Mostly the Cardinals and their terrible new uniforms. Your Phillies right now, yes, Lee, your Phillies are the best team in baseball still. Just because my Yankees blew a 3-run lead in last night's game against the Mariners. Clay Holmes. Not going to get into that now. But we're going to kick things off with the NBA and the NHL and playoff season. We're going to kick things off with hockey. Game 7. We had actually a couple of Game 7s across the sports, but the big Game 7 last night, the Edmonton Oilers hold on 3-2 in Game 7 in Vancouver. And the Oilers will advance to the Western Conference Final against the Dallas Stars, who it looked like Colorado just ran out of gas. And obviously, we talked about the Niskanen deal last week in his scenario. I think they kind of had the wind taken out of their sails from that. Lee, what are your thoughts? We're going to start in the West. Dallas, Edmonton, how they got here, and who's going to come out of this one?
You know, I there's nothing backing up what I'm about to say. I just think this is going to be. Follow me here. Dallas in 4 or Edmonton in 7. It's the widest range. I don't know why I'm thinking that way. Here's the deal. They're both hot teams right now.
Yes.
The thing that Edmonton did yesterday was their bottom 6 really stepped up and started scoring. If that continues, that's going to be a really hard team to beat. But with that said, Dallas is really well-rounded. I mean, they just knocked off the Colorado Avalanche, which is not nothing. No. All right. And I'm going to say this for the whole Final Four, but we have really the 4 best teams in the league right now left.
Yes.
This isn't like close to me. Like as good as Vancouver did, I still thought Edmonton was the better team to get out of this. And remember, they had a 3-goal lead in that game. It was only 3-2 very late in the game. Yeah. And they dominated. I mean, it wasn't close. And here's the thing. You got a team with a 50% power play right now in Edmonton. Yeah. I've never seen that before. That team is dangerous, but a lot of this is going to come to the coaching. And if it's like every year with Edmonton, if Dallas can shut that top line down and the bottom of the lineup's not performing, Dallas will win the series easily. easily.
Well, and Dallas definitely has the massive goaltending advantage.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Edmonton has had a carousel of goalies in net throughout the playoffs.
Right.
Finally resettling back on Skinner, who is Jekyll and Hyde in net.
The beauty of those, the great goaltending, is that on the other side, you have the greatest goal scorer in the game right now in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Yep. So it's going to be a game of special teams. I think that Vancouver got themselves in a lot of trouble when it came to penalties. And again, when you normally in a normal series, I might not have said that, but when a team is going 50% on the power play, you cannot go in the box. Yeah. Okay. You cannot go in the box. The other thing too is Vancouver had a 4-minute power play last night. They didn't convert on it at all.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. It was a tale of two power plays. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm the coach of Dallas right now, one is I'm talking disciplined play. You cannot go in the box against this team.
No.
To the best of your advantage. And the second thing too is just shutting down that McDavid line, which I'm also going to be honest. Like if you can shut them down, you've got it. But we don't say this enough. Shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl is very, very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
All right. This isn't just an easy. I'll put our best guys on their guys because McDavid's better than your best guy.
Yeah.
Right. That's just the way it is. So we'll see. I mean, Edmonton got a team effort in the second round. And guess what happened? They won, but they won in 7.
Yeah.
All right. Dallas won pretty convincingly in 6.
Yes.
All right. And I'm curious to see what happens in the series, but I'm looking forward to it. I like that I don't know. But again, it's like Dallas is going to sweep them or Edmonton's going to win in 7. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards Dallas in this one. I don't know about a sweep, but I like to your point, I could see this being a 5, maybe 6 game series. But I just
could go quick. Yeah.
I always go with the goalies, and to me, Ettinger is just on another level right now.
He is right now. He is.
And I think that I think Dallas will get enough scoring again. But to your point, if you can find a way to shut down Draisaitl and McDavid, then they're
well. And I'll say this too, that I like that it's hard to pick right now. Like sometimes it's easy to pick. But the other thing I'll say is the NHL wants Edmonton to win this series because if they win, there's the potential for a really marquee matchup with the Eastern Conference finalists. Yes. One in particular.
Yes. Well, that's the thing is that the East is interesting because both teams advances in 6. Speaking of pretty handily, Florida really handled Boston. Aside from their 2 losses, outside of their 2 losses, I mean, it was really. When Boston won, they won. But when Florida won, they also really won. It was very convincing. They won in 6. They're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now. Bobrovsky's standing on his head. They're getting goal. They're also getting scoring from everywhere. Florida looks very good. They're a very tough team. They're a very physical team.
And they just lost in the final last year too. We got to remember that.
Yes, and so now here they are again on the precipice, trying to go back-to-back Eastern Conference championships. But they will have to go through New York. My New York Rangers. They were in New York game 1s and 2. The Rangers have home ice advantage. The Rangers won in 6, and for a while there, it looked like it was going to go 7. Lee. It looked like it was going to be 3-0 and then 3-3. And then speaking of threes, Chris Kreider said, "Oh, I'm going to just score 3 goals. I'm going to score a natty hat."
Tell the audience about the conversation that night, right? Because I feel like I'm due a little respect.
Yes, Lee was a very calming influence for me and our good buddy Ray Santiago as
I predicted the ending of the game before the third period began when they were still down 3-0.
Yes,
or whatever the score was.
And it was 3-1 going into the third, and then I think we all kind of saw it a little bit, but you were the first to say it. Was that when the Rangers made it 3-2? It felt like the ice suddenly tilted completely towards the Rangers.
Really tired, Carolina, really fast.
Yes. It looked like they had completely run out of gas, that they had basically used all their energy in the first 40, 45 minutes of the game. And then the Rangers, who are have always been a better third period team, at least in recent years. Chris Kreider was just like, "I got you, boys." And a natty hattie for Kreider. Yeah. I mean, they said it. This is the kind of thing. This is the kind of playoff performance. Not only does now Chris Kreider quietly have a plethora of Ranger records, both in the regular season and the playoffs, but this is the kind of performance, particularly if the Rangers do go on to win the Cup, that will get your number in the rafters one day down the line.
Kreider reminds me a lot of Justin Williams in that the guy just kind of shows up when you need him to show up. And he's been like that his whole career. I remember when he was a rookie, came out of college, he joined the team and like nobody, and he was just doing stuff, right? It's just when the Rangers really need someone, I feel like he's kind of the guy there's a money player. Yeah. But Justin Williams, same thing, right? He would just show up in the playoffs. It was amazing. Yeah. Right. Well, so we'll see what happens there.
And the crazy thing with Kreider is I look back at the Cup run in 2014 where he was very young still, right? And he had trouble putting the biscuit in the basket, but the talent was already there. And now it feels like, now we got to remember he's 33 now, right? He's been in the league for over a decade. Now it's the skills are still there, but particularly the last 3 years or so, he's finally put it all together. And now he's becoming that special player. And now he's really carrying, like, at least in that game, he carried this team. And you need different guys to step up at different times, and the Rangers are getting that. Plus, obviously, Shesterkin's still standing on his head every game. And the Rangers, Lee, are the biggest long shot of the Final Four remaining, according to Vegas. But what do they know?
Not on my predictions. I predicted them going all the way to the final. I'll just say this on one last note on Chris Kreider, is that what's amazing to me about Kreider is that he has been so tradable his entire career. Yeah. But somehow he has always fallen kind of down the tree, the right direction to kind of stay with the Rangers. Yeah. It's really an amazing story, right? Because like a guy like that doesn't typically stay with especially the Rangers for his entire career.
And now he's the heart and soul of the team.
He really is. He's never been the captain and any of it. No. He's an amazing kind of enigma to me on that team that like almost he should be. And he has been there a long time.
Well, I mean, there were talks that when Trouba got the C, that it was actually going to go to either Kreider or even Fox at that point.
Right.
Because now there's a lot of talks when this will happen at the end of the year. Speaking of former Ranger defensemen, this was breaking news. Ryan McDonald just got traded back to the Lightning for draft picks. Literally, at least I saw it right before we went on the air.
That's interesting. Lightning needs some help, but it's an interesting team, the Rangers. I mean, when you look at them versus Florida in the Eastern Conference Final, goaltending matched. Yeah. Defense, Rangers have the advantage. Offense, the Panthers have a slight advantage. Yeah. Slight, like this, and that's solved if Panarin gets hot or something like that. Solved automatically. Yeah. But I feel like this is like Rocky IV, and we're into the montage music part of the fight. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with the Rangers because I picked them from the very start. Yes. But this should be really exciting hockey. Yeah. And I predict that this series is going to go very back and forth. Yeah. In the sense of like, I think there'll be convincing wins by both teams. Yeah. Right. I don't think it's going to be 3-1, 3-2, 3-1. I think it's going to be like 5-1, 4-2.
A lot of what happened in the Florida and Boston series.
Yeah. I could see it going back and forth. The one edge that the Panthers have that make me nervous is that they lost in the final last year. Yeah. And it's an extreme motivating force.
Sure.
But with that said, adversely, nothing has bothered the Rangers.
No.
Nothing.
And if anything, the Rangers now are getting their own shot in the arm because it was just announced yesterday that Blake Wheeler is going to be able to play in the Eastern Conference Final. There was thoughts that he would miss the whole rest of the year. He broke his leg. It was a sin, terrible injury. People thought that was going to be a career-ending injury. And now he was with them the whole Carolina series, rooting on the sideline, rooting behind the bench and whatnot. There was a lot of video, and now he's back. And now the Rangers, who have kind of had on the bottom six kind of a rotation of Rempe and Hedel and Brzezinski, now suddenly you add Wheeler to that. And arguably, you could put Wheeler on the top line with Zibanejad and Kreider where he was, and suddenly you move Roslovic to the third line, and we talk about depth scoring, and now suddenly the Rangers don't have a top six to be worried about, in my opinion. If Wheeler is back and can play what he was, even close to what he was when he got hurt, suddenly the Rangers have a top nine that you could talk about scoring.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see what Laviolette does with that team. Do you want to shock and awe Florida with something they haven't seen? Or do you want to gently bring Wheeler into the lineup? A lot of that's going to be decided on conversations that they have at practice and how he feels and how he looks. But it's going to be a really good series. And again, look, this is where Adam Fox has got to be Adam Fox. I mean, you have got to have that defense.
He's looked banged up. He looked banged up last round. So hopefully
the other thing is this too, and this is probably the biggest key for the Rangers. Tkachuk and the Panthers are very good at getting under people's skin. Very, very good. Yes. And I don't think that that's the Rangers game.
No.
And again, I know everybody loves Rempe. I like Rempe, but you're not going to get to the cup final by beating the shit out of people. You're going to get to the cup final by scoring more goals than the other team.
Right.
We had to talk about that because they didn't play Rempe in a couple games, and I had said to you, Ray, that he's not the guy they need right now.
No.
Right? Like you don't need distractions. You don't need to give Carolina a reason.
Well, and that's the thing. Rempe played 3 games of the 6 against Carolina. You had Hedl play 1, and you had Brzezinski play 2. Now, Hedl arguably has the inside track if he's healthy. He unfortunately seemed to have some migraines or some kind of setback. They Rangers swear it is not due to his concussion, but he had an issue and they called it an illness before he before Game 5. But
here's what I think. I think you will see Rempe in Game 1 unless something's happening that I don't know about.
Right.
Just as if you want to F around and find out, we have an option here.
We have a deterrent.
Yeah. But it's got to be about hockey talent and hockey skill. All right. Yeah. And with Barkov and Tkachuk, I mean, Florida's really talented, but so are the Rangers. I'm looking forward to every game of this. And I'm not going to lie, too, just going back to the West, the Vancouver-Edmonton series was awesome. It was really good. Back and forth. Really, that last game, only until the last couple of minutes, was not the only game that was boring. Yeah. So this is a great Final Four. All right. The perfect cup final right now is Edmonton, New York. That's what everybody wants. And nobody wants to see Florida and Dallas. No. But if Florida and Dallas happens, Gary Bettman's going to be like, so those teams in the South, huh?
Well, yeah, then he has that argument. Honestly,
you're next.
Honestly, as a Ranger fan, I don't care who we play in the West as long as we're playing for the Cup.
Well, as a Ranger fan, I think look, when you get to the Cup final, whoever you're playing. That's
well, I think in a weird way, I think we actually match up better against Dallas, actually.
Well, I think from a New York sports mentality, Dallas is a better matchup.
We'd love to stick it to Dallas.
Yeah, that's why. Right. I do want to mention this, Ray. Just quick NFL note that they showed that poll again of like the most hated teams by state.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because Pennsylvania was Dallas.
Yeah.
And like New York was Dallas, and Washington was Dallas, but Dallas was Philadelphia. That means they hate us more than all of you.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. That makes sense. Especially in the last 20 years or so, right? Like the Giants have had a couple of moments against the Cowboys, specifically against Tony Romo and beating them when the Cowboys were 13-3 and that on our miracle run to beat the undefeated Patriots. But like most of the Dallas's grief over the last 20 years has probably been because of you guys.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk a little later about how the Cowboys are playing the Montreal Canadiens in football.
We're going to get to that later. Don't get started early. We got to go to the NBA first. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Dallas, we can actually stay in Dallas for the NBA.
There you go.
Because speaking of the West, and again, this is just honestly, it was veteran experience, I think, coming out ahead of a good, young, talented team, but they don't have a lot of experience. And the Dallas Mavericks knock off the top-seeded Thunder and are now in the Western Conference Final for the second time in, I believe, in 3 years. And they're going to take on the Timberwolves, who knocked off Denver. By the way, came back from 20 down in the first half to knock off the defending champion Nuggets, who honestly, it looked like they kind of ran out of gas. Joker couldn't hit a 3 if his life depended on it, which is very unlike him. And basically the Wolves won by 10, a 30-point swing in the second half. And the Timberwolves, they are hungry. Lee, I don't know how I don't know who you're picking, but I don't know how you could not pick the Wolves. Now, again, Dallas has experience; they have experienced players and whatnot. But Minnesota, and Joker said in his post-game conference, he says they're built to beat us, and then they're built to win. I think Minnesota is the team to pick here in the Western Conference Final. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that. I think too when you come back from 20, Dallas came back from 20, right?
Minnesota came back from 20 against Denver in Game 7.
Another
Game 7.
I got my wires crossed there for a second.
Yeah.
That, to me, makes you a team of destiny a bit. You just took out the reigning champs with a 20-point lead. Someone's looking out for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would pick them too.
No.
Well, you want to talk about that. We'll get that. I think Minnesota would be my pick as well. But, hey, look, this is refreshing. Right?
Yes.
Having these two teams, like this is what we talk about all years. It's predictable, and it's like we were wrong. All right, good. Finally, because it's so exhausting being right all the time.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. At least in the West, the number 1 seed got knocked off, and This is the first time in 20 years since Kevin Garnett was a Timberwolf that they've gone this far in the playoffs. So,
right.
And then, of course, his other team, the Celtics, we'll get to in a second. But the Timberwolves, I also want to mention their post-game press conference.
We got to mention this.
For both teams after Game 7. First off, asking the Nuggets coach about blowing the 20-point lead, and he's just like,
how does that feel?
Yeah, like he's like, guys, who cares about the specifics? The season's over.
Yeah,
the season's over. That's it. That's how it sucks.
Yeah,
and he's like stupid ass questions, and I was like, which is a
great.
It
is a stupid question.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a question to get a rise out of someone to get a soundbite. Journalists, you suck.
Yes.
Not all of you. Not all of you.
A lot of reporters nowadays, sports reporters, are really, really awful because it's all about how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you think they feel after losing Game 7?
Well, these reporters never played sports, dude, or at least not at a high enough level to understand what it takes to win.
No, well, and that's the thing is that's right. Every sports reporter was basically just a loser.
I always loved it when I was done and something was broken and my whole body hurt and we lost and I had a headache. And all I wanted to do was sleep for 6 years. And someone's like, how do you feel? Like I could possibly explain to you the level of pain that I'm in right now, both mentally and physically, which you're not going to understand. And you're going to turn it into me making an excuse. So the season's over. Stupid question. I can see how that would come up. I hope I gave some context there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then on the other side, they're all talking to Ant-Man and Karl Anthony Towns, and they were talking to the Wolves, and then they were like, it's like, so like typically like to get to this point in the NBA, like it feels like a team has to go through like a almost like pay their dues, and they have to lose a couple of times. And Karl Anthony Towns was like, we lost last year. Yeah. We lost to that team last year. How much more losing do you want us to do? We're here to win now.
What kind of an idiot? Like I think I understand what he was trying to say, which was like, hey, a lot of teams have to lose to learn to win. The question should have been, you guys have had your fair share of losing over the last few years. You know, how has that worked towards motivating you? What thoughts have you thought about?
Yeah. What lessons did you learn to get to this point?
Yeah, man, that's a good question, right? And you know, I would answer that question, but like typically you got to lose to win. I read a book once about that. It was called Alice in Wonderland. These people are stupid with these questions. Like they're just not thought out. And again, I feel a little bad because I think this reporter was trying to go that direction and just worded it poorly. But that's your job, man.
You're supposed to be a wordsmith. Yeah. You are a writer. What are you doing?
Yeah. It kills me, man. Like
you're fired.
One of the benefits of podcasting and doing a lot of these broadcasts is that you and I typically linguistically can say things very quickly and very precisely in the way that we want to say them so it doesn't sound stupid.
Yeah.
I just pulled that out of nowhere. Yeah. Ray, let's do a mock interview. Ray, you're a podcast host.
Yes.
Is sound important?
What kind of a question is that? What kind of a question is that? Of course sound is important. The whole thing is sound.
How does the sound make you feel? This is the kind of questions. This is what they sound like to an athlete. I'm trying to give a real world example. Ray, most podcasts have to lose before they get big.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Jesus, we have mugs, guys. We're legit.
Lee, how does it feel every time you put on your headphones? How does that feel?
Well, actually, it feels great. It means we're about to do something cool. Listen. I'm just going to put this to bed for people here, Ray. Listen, I would say a majority of professional athletes pretty humble with their position in life. It might not seem like that on the surface, but most of these guys that are making double-digit millions or millions of dollars, they understand how good they got it. Now, you put yourself in a position where you're making millions of dollars. You are giving everything you've got to try and win your body, your mind, your soul. And every year, more often than not, you're not going to win. And you get some dumbass reporter asking you how you feel. What am I supposed to say to you? Because I'll tell you this right now, Ray. No one's going to understand, the toll that I've taken to try and get here because fans demand winning as they should, right? I make millions of dollars a year, right? So that's going to get thrown in my face the second I say anything, right? That Allen Iverson press conference, to me, makes more sense every damn year.
Yeah.
When it happened, I didn't get it because I hadn't sacrificed enough. But he goes, man, we're talking about practice. I die for this game, and we're talking about practice. I understand where he was coming from now. And he was right.
Well, and even most recently, to talk about the last playoff series now with my Knicks, who just got knocked off after Game 6. No, reporter went to Josh Hart because Knicks were very banged up. They're like,
I'm sorry that your Knicks didn't win. That was.
I know. We'll get to it. Yeah, I know. We'll dissect it. But they asked Josh Hart, they're like, do you feel like it's a problem that you're all playing like 40 plus minutes or 48 minutes? And Josh Hart is like, he's like, dude, I'm playing a game that I love. I'm playing a kid's game that I love. I'm not pouring concrete. I'm not laying bricks. I'm not I'm not doing fizzy. I'm playing a game that I love for 48 minutes. Like, perspective, man. Like, and that's basically what he said. I'm paraphrasing it. Like, and that's the thing is like, because here's the thing. A lot of folks are going to blame Thibodeau because of the Knicks injuries. But here's the fact of the matter. He had no choice. The Knicks had no depth. The Knicks, and here's the thing, I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people are like, the Pacers were going to beat the Knicks anyway. No. The Knicks top 5 and their 6th man were all hurt. Brunson broke his hand in the third quarter. That's when that game went sideways.
Right.
Like, the Knicks injuries piled up. And it's not because Thibodeau was playing everybody. It's because these guys should be playing as much as they're playing if they're superstars. And they will even admit that. At least this team will. The Knicks will.
And also, everyone's played injured this time of year. The other thing, too, is that you have to stay healthy to win. I don't think I've ever seen a team really win a championship not healthy.
No,
healthy-ish.
You can have an injured player with a moment. Again, going back to Willis Reed for the Knicks in the 70s, going back to Gibson with the Dodgers in '88, right? You can have an injured player have a moment. Even Stamkos when they won the one cup, playing that one period, right?
And one goal
and getting the one goal, right? Like, you can have an injured player have a moment. But you're not going to win a 7-game series with everybody banged up like that. That's not going to happen. And that's what happened to the Knicks. I don't care. This is an easy one for me. The Celtics might sweep Indiana. The Celtics are going to mud stomp them. Like, they're going to walk it dry like Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? Like, this is an easy prediction. Now, what happens in the final? Maybe Wolves, maybe Celtics. I don't know. But the Celtics will dismantle the Indiana Pacers. And good for them for advancing. And they're cocky and they're feeling great about themselves. But I will say this till the day I die. If the Knicks were 100%, there is no way this Pacers team would have beaten this Knicks team.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ray. And I think also for Knicks fans, you're going into an offseason now with a lot of hope and a lot of hey, man, we're almost there. Sort of the Sixers during the process, which has fallen off completely. But here's the deal, is that you were given a letter by Knicks ownership a few years back that predicted this, and it's happening. As a Knicks fan, you got to be pretty understanding of their situation. It's disappointing to lose, but, aside from all the Reggie Miller fans out there that really are just like, guys, that was 30 years ago.
30 years ago now,
it's time to move on and look at next season. You're going to be in a good position for next season to really be competing for that NBA Eastern Conference title.
Well, and especially, I want to mention this. Now, this also just broke, is that this is not official, but the rumor is that Jalen Brunson is going to sign a 4-year, about $160 million extension. And he's doing that because if he waits another year, the max could be 5 years, $250 million. And people are like, well, why is he signing the lesser deal? Mm-hmm. It's because he wants to win. And he wants to win here. It's the same as what Tom Brady used to do with the Patriots. Brady would take less money on the contract, which also, by the way, if Brunson does win in New York, he will make so much money on the back end in endorsements and everything else for the rest of his life. He'll be, you win in New York, you are immortalized. Yeah. He will eat at every restaurant for the rest of his life for free.
Well, here's the other thing, dude. And I like to say, how much do you need?
Well, and that's the thing. At that point, when you're talking about the difference between $40 million a year and $50 million a year,
that's ego. That's all ego.
That's all that is.
Look. I was going to say, Sidney Crosby, $8.7 million a year. That guy should be the highest paid guy in hockey right now. $8.7 million a year, so he could build a team around. He won 2 cups after that contract. McDavid became the highest paid player in the game, and Edmonton's doing great now, but they struggled
for
a few years. Okay, They got very, very fortunate. Leon Draisaitl was on that team. All right. And they just happen to have a pretty good lineup. But this across the board, if you're going to be egotistical and want to be the highest paid player of all time with no salary cap, we should say, or luxury tax, that negates this, obviously.
Right.
You're not going to win anything. All right. Like you want to win, you got to have talent surrounding you. And cutting it off a few $1 million to win. I don't want to talk like I'm a multimillionaire. I'm not. But I would love to believe, and Ray, you know me pretty well. I don't think I'm lying here, that if I was in a financial position where I was that wealthy, and you tell me if I took a cut that's not really going to affect me if it's a few $1 million, right? I know that sounds crazy to say. I want to win, man. I would take that in a heartbeat to win.
Absolutely.
I would renegotiate almost every year if it meant we were going to win. If I believed we could win. If I believed that is the key point here. Like if I played for the Browns or the Arizona Cardinals, I don't believe we can win right now.
Right.
All right. So it depends on the franchise too. All right.
Right. And that's the thing.
The Browns, I want the biggest damn contract you can give me.
Well, and that's the thing. And then with Brunson, it's like they want to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. They want to bring back Josh Hart. A lot of the OG Anunoby, like all these guys who helped the Knicks get here, they're also got expiring contracts. So Brunson's like, I'll take $10 million a year less so that we can keep these guys together. Because that's the thing. Hartenstein, the same thing. The way the contracts work, if Hartenstein,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say Hartenstein, as a free agent, can get a bigger the Knicks can only offer him X amount of dollars for him to stay, but another team can pay more to have them come to him. Didn't go there.
Let me tell you right now, the biggest threat to the New York Knicks is. Are you ready? You're going to agree with me. You're going to be like,
the front office?
God, right. Well, kind of.
James Dolan?
If James Dolan and these morons draft Bronny James.
Oh, no. To get LeBron to come to New York?
And they will absolutely do that. The only good news for you is there's a lot of teams ahead of you in the draft.
Yeah.
All right. And I actually think it's more likely the Sixers would try and do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, the rumor is that LA is going to draft him, and he's going to stay in LA.
Of course they are. Right. But here's the deal, man. If the people know that, you pick him first overall at that point. You wouldn't do that, but I'm saying that is a threat to the Knicks right now. And James Dolan is the type of owner who's kind of dumb enough to do that. Yeah,
because he cares more about selling tickets than winning, not realizing a championship would make so much more money.
All right, and
with all the stupid stuff at the Sphere.
Sphere. Pain leads to anger. Anger leads to a sphere.
Yeah.
Spheres lead to suffering and concerts.
Yeah. No, but it.
Okay.
Look, the Knicks are done. I think Celtics are going to absolutely just run.
Celtics are going to be the NBA champions this year. I think we can make that play out. And
that was
our final. Anyone can win, but the Celtics have been dominant all year, and this is basketball where the good guys always lose.
Yes, I mean, look, I would love to see the Wolves get the championship, but I think that it's going to be
the only time in recent memory I remember the good guy winning was when the Raptors won, and I was salty about that because they beat the Sixers in the last second shot.
Yeah.
So, but that was fair when the North won.
Yes. Yeah, that was that was when Kawhi Leonard was up there. So.
I just said I didn't want to talk about it.
So, well, you brought it up.
I don't wish to talk about it.
You know what else I don't want to? You know what I don't want to talk about?
Lots of something in the NFL.
Everything about the Giants. Everything about the Giants right now.
They have in New York.
The Giants. First off, the Giants are going to be the team on Hard Knocks this year, which is stupid because we're in the middle of a rebuild. And it just basically is guaranteed. I've said it. I was talking to a friend. I said our basement is 4 wins. Our ceiling is 7. If the Giants go 7-10 this year, that's a success. Because this team is not built to win whatsoever. This is a full-blown rebuild. This should be the last year for Daniel Jones. This is his last chance. This is his last chance to do anything. If he has a bad year, he's not just done with the Giants. He might be done with football. And being on Hard Knocks and seeing this doofus every week on Max being like, trying to throw, like, well, we're just trying real hard, and I'm from Duke, and so he's a doofus. Look at it. He's a derpy dumbass. Look at Daniel Jones. I'm Daniel Jones with my bug eyes here with my century red uniform.
Can we call him Danny Doofus this year? Can we do
Danny Dumpster Fire, Danny Doofus? It's not Danny Dimes. He's Danny Dumbass.
I just think the word doofus is one of the funniest words in the language.
He's a doofus.
Danny
Thank you,
Doofus is
producer
on the
Zombie.
screen.
Danny Doofus.
Danny Doofus.
I am so close to just, I'm skirting around the swears. I'm so close because I want to just.
You were close there. I was watching. I could hear it. I if you ever see my eyebrows go, that means Ray might be allowed.
Might slip. He might slip. Yeah, pull himself back.
The Giants are in an interesting, precarious situation this year with Hard Knocks, with their jerseys that they've made.
Oh my God! And then they put out these 100-year uniforms that look awful. They look terrible. By the way, I understand the history. I understand that it's a throwback to the 20s and 30s and what they wore then.
Listen, it's a copycat jersey of the Canadians. It was obvious that influenced them at the time. It was obvious.
Clearly.
Even the pants are the same color.
But that's whatever happened 100 years ago should stay 100 years ago. Right. You know what the fans want? The fans want to return to the 80s jerseys with the stripes down the legs and where it says Giants on the helmet instead of NY. Just really simple stuff, but where they still wear blue. We're called Big Blue. There's almost no blue on the uniform.
You're Big Red like the gun.
I'm wearing more blue today than the Giants will. These uniforms are awful.
Look, I will say this. I like that they attempted this in the sense of, that's cool. You shouldn't go with that, though. The other thing I'm going to say, too, is that if they wore the original leather helmets, I would have been all for it. That would have solved a lot of your problems in the first few games of, we need an entirely new lineup.
Yeah.
No, it's a really interesting jersey. Look, this is what I'd say. Philadelphia did something like this years back. They brought back the original Eagles jerseys, which were blue and yellow, no green. And they lasted one season and were gone because every one of us was like, what the hell is that? Again, it comes back to the Philadelphia flag. Obviously, the Phillies are doing something stupid like that now, too. All right. But, guys, I'm all about tradition. Make a poster.
Yes.
And then create a new jersey that people want to see. 100th year anniversary. The ones that do work right, and the NHL has been celebrating a lot of 100-year anniversaries, and they go with the gold or they go with some sort of accentuation on the jersey. They don't bring back the original jersey. Yeah. Like when the Flyers had their 50th anniversary, they put gold around the logo. And here's the it wasn't my cup of tea, but no one complained about it. A lot of people bought that jersey. It was kind of commemorative. Oh, we hit 50 years. 100 years? Bruins are doing that right now. I love the Bruins jerseys this year. They're fine. They look like the Bruins jerseys. They don't look like another team that existed in an alternate dimension in a multiverse in which Spider-Man is still known by everybody. That didn't happen in this universe. They chose to bring it back. So the Giants jerseys, I'll give you a B for creativity in terms of thinking about it, but an A minus F in terms of execution. All right. The fans wanted the 80s jerseys back. You won with those jerseys.
Yeah.
I don't get it. They want the Lawrence Taylor breaking Theismann's leg jersey.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
It's simple. It's that simple.
Well, it's never simple when you bring front office people into these conversations.
No, they're morons.
No, we got to be different. No, you don't.
Morons. A couple other things in the NFL. Netflix is getting Christmas Day games for the NFL, which is a big deal. Sports more and more starting to permeate the streaming services so that if cable wasn't already dead, folks, it's pretty much going to be dead by the end of this year.
If only we had predicted this.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
If only we had predicted live sports coming to streaming systems years ago.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've already said it. As soon as Max, Disney Plus, and Hulu has that bundle, I'm completely. I have Sling right now, and that's done.
I just want to say the word doofus.
Danny Doofus. Speaking of doofuses in the NFL, the schedule was fully released. The Jets again have 6 primetime games this year because the NFL is like Aaron Rodgers owes us one. And when he gets hurt on Monday night against the Niners this year, we'll be like, you are morons. The Jets are going to be just as bad as the Giants. Mark my words. They are. They're going to be just as bad as the Giants.
The Jets are tied with the Houston Oilers.
Yes.
For the least amount of wins in their division. And they have more primetime games than wins in the division.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. The Jets.
That's a little known fact I found. That was Ray's special stat last week.
Yes. The Jets are historically one of, if not the worst franchise in the NFL, and they got 6 primetime games because the NFL thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to stay healthy this year. No. The Niners might end his season again the way the Bills did last year on night 1. Like, the Niners defense is scary. Like, unbelievable. Nobody wants to see the Jets. Not even Jets fans. Nobody. Get them off of prime time. These should not be the national games. Sorry. It's just a fact. Every team, of course, though, has at least one primetime game. I think the Giants have 3 this year. The Jets having tied for the most with 6 is ridiculous. The schedule makers need to be fired. The Giants also have a game in Germany this year. They're the team going to Germany this year. The Jaguars, as usual, will be being their second home. They'll have 2 games in London this year because nobody in Jacksonville cares about the Jaguars.
That's true.
Talk to Tony Khan. Moved them to London already. Yeah. The season kicks off Ravens-Chiefs. That should be a good game. Ravens-Chiefs kicks off the schedule this year on Thursday night. That should be good. That should be fun. That makes sense. The AFC Championship game rematch from last year. What a concept! Winning teams on your primetime games. What a concept! What are the odds that Taylor Swift is at that game?
100%.
Yeah, probably.
Unless they broke up and nobody knows about it.
That's true. One last thing. We were talking about terrible uniforms. This is the last thing. The Cardinals in baseball joined the most recent list of awful City Connect jerseys where it says on the front, the Lou. I don't know. Supposedly this is something that folks from St. Louis say. I don't know. I'm not from St. Louis, but I talk to a lot of people from not in St. Louis, and that makes them think of going to the bathroom. So I don't know. And they put STL, just plain STL on their cap. It looks really bad and really dumb. I understand why it's red. Cardinals, funny enough, don't have a primary red uniform.
That's true. No.
So even though they're the Redbirds, they have the powder blues and they wear whites at home, but like they are wearing. So I get that. But the Lou? If somebody out there is from St. Louis, write to the show, Geeks Who Like Sports at gmail.com. Please let me know if this is actually something that you guys say there, and if that's something that excites you to be on the front of your jersey. Because I see that, and I think you're a bunch of morons.
Is this worse than when New Jersey put Jersey on the Devil's jersey? Jersey.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there.
Yes.
Just say St. Louis. Just say St. Louis or Cardinals or something.
You could
get STL on the hat.
You could put gooey butter cake on the front. That's one of the signature desserts out there. You could put the archway.
Barbecue ribs.
You could do that.
We're gonna do food.
I mean, the gooey butter cake is really good. Yeah. You could do the archway, the gateway.
All you did was put a baseball bat with 2 Cardinals instead of 1 because that's already your logo, and you call it the Lou.
Lou. We're going to the Lou. Where you got to go? The Lou.
I am not a local. Please, somebody explain it to me.
It's a wonderful city. I've been there.
Please explain it to me. Please, I am begging you. And please let me know what your thoughts are on the uniform because I see it as an outsider and think it's stupid. Anyway, you know what was not stupid, Lee?
I do. X-Men 97.
Yes. Yes, they stuck the landing. We are moving into the geek segment, folks, and now so the risk of me having an aneurysm will subside for a little while.
It's all right. You're Magneto and I'm Professor X. I would get you out of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So much happened. So many cameos this episode.
Start on this. It's all been said already. It was.
I mean, first off, it's 40 minutes. It was an extra long episode.
Yeah. Look, let's just start with this. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. I know you're not supposed to give 10s. I can't think of anything they could have done better. And what they accomplished in the time that they had is the best thing I have ever seen them do. I cannot think of a better animated style show of that caliber. I'm not talking about anime. I'm talking about of that caliber that has been better. That is the best animated feature I have ever seen from that style of animation. Ever. It's a 10. Yeah. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
It's absolutely unbelievable. So many Easter eggs from even when you get to see the Magneto protocols on the president's desk, and it looks like the old X-Men trading card rankings in the back where it's like energy projection 6, intelligence 4. And I'm like, oh my God, there's just so many deep cuts here. I
mean, Cyclops optic blast that looked like it was right out of the video game was pretty amazing.
Where he cranks it up to 11 and is just like, ah! I mean, and again, there's the dialogue from Magneto, again, him talking to Xavier. This is always like, it gets to X-Men at its core so perfectly, where Magneto, it's post-World War II Europe, and they're talking and they're revealing their powers themselves as like, we're getting a flashback / Professor Xavier's trying to like put Magneto's mind back together.
That in itself is brilliant.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And Magneto gives the line, humans are they're all fighting about over who's the best victim. And it's so perfect for what things were back then, but also it's so poignant for how things are now in a lot of ways. Like how things don't change, about how our fights are petty and stupid and how we should all just come together. And Magneto's like, Magneto was right again! He's right again! Oh my God. I mean... And then you have again cameos: Silver Samurai, Daredevil, Iron Man, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Cloak and Dagger, Omega Red again, Crimson Dynamo, Psylocke, Puck, North Star. The Phoenix shows up again. We got Polaris, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. It's a
Peter Parker, Mary Jane.
We finally have closure on Spider-Man 9, the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, where that cartoon ends with Madam Web taking Spider-Man on a journey to find Mary Jane in the multiverse. And there they are. It's Peter Parker with his Mary Jane watching everything happen. By the way, as Asteroid M is crashing down to Earth because, again, the moron humans are like, oh, let's nuke Asteroid M. That'll solve everything.
Right. I thought you said you were not going to have an aneurysm.
I need a second.
I'll also mention in the Peter Parker scene, if you look behind them, Flash is there. Right.
Flash Thompson is also there.
I mean, they did everything in this episode. It was pretty good. We said that the fear was, will they be able to stick the landing? They stuck the landing.
Yes.
Closed the Bastion storyline, and then they left us with an amazing setup for season 2 of the X-Men having to fight against Apocalypse in multiple timelines simultaneously, and possibly giving us a good Apocalypse in the past and then the future. I mean, it was so wonderfully done. And I said, Ray, that the key, especially with like kind of post-credit scenes or setting things up, actually, Ryan Reynolds said it great, of that most of these Marvel films end with a trailer for the next film. Thus, you're going on an endless cycle of going to Marvel films, just waiting for the next one. I didn't feel that way with this. I feel like I got extreme closure on this season, and they set up a great season for season 2 that I'm more than happy to wait for.
Yes.
They did it correct.
Yes.
This was awesome. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, first, you mentioned Bastion.
It ended on a laugh, which I wasn't expecting.
Yes, well, we're going to get to that, absolutely. Yeah. But Bastion... they made Bastion one of the best, and he is one of the best X-Men villains. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that they changed his origin enough to where he is actually a bit of a mutant himself, right? And that they show that, like, they give him the option where they're like, you don't have to be abandoned. It was your mother who acted out of fear that shooed away Professor Xavier, giving them that connection that Bastion doesn't have with them in the comics.
Right.
It made him an empathetic villain to a degree. Even though he's doing these heinous acts, it makes you understand his villainy. And that is so important to this kind of stuff. And it's so great because he's not just a mutant-hating robot, or android, right? Like there's a heart to him. He is part machine, part mutant.
X-Men are all about.
Yes.
It's what the X-Men are all about. I mean, that really pretty powerful scene. It was a little campy in the sense of it, but it made sense of Cyclops going, we're going to do what we've always done.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, the writing was fantastic. The episode was fantastic. The closure was, this is the best thing the MCU has done in this era.
Yeah.
By a mile. I've said it before. I don't think anything's close to this.
No.
Right? Again, there are moments that are close. Like the Genosha episode, which is going to get up for an Emmy, by the way. And probably will win. There were moments as good as that, obviously, in Endgame and Infinity War and Avengers 1 and Civil War, but as a whole, I was waiting for, I don't remember waiting for a show like this, like looking forward to it in the MCU. Star Wars sometimes does that for me. I really loved Obi-Wan, but even that was not as good as this.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. And then again, the ending where they basically get forced through some kind of time loop or wormhole as to keep Asteroid M from destroying the Earth. And they all get separated across the timeline. Some, obviously, were in the present. It's Forge. Bishop comes back, which is crazy. Jubilee, Sunspot.
And was predicted.
Yes.
I do want to say that. We accurately predicted a lot of this episode.
Absolutely.
I said last week that Cyclops might end up with this kid.
Yes. And now Cyclops and Jean Grey are in the future with Mother Ascani, and which obviously, of course, she helps take care of, she's a version of Rachel Summers. And then there's also, I believe, what would be the X-Man Nate, right? Because remember, we've talked about this before. Cable, there are multiple versions of him through the multiverse. Nathan Summers, one is X-Man. There's Cable. There's also Strife, who becomes a bad guy, right? And it feels like that Cyclops got sent to one of the futures where he can help raise his kid. And then also a lot of the X-Men get sent to the past, and they're helping to fight a mutant fight off with this Egyptian guard. And immediately, as soon as you get back to Egypt, I'm like, oh, it's got to be him. It's got to be him.
It's got to be him.
And then it's like, and he's like, and they're like, who are you? He's like, Ensabaner, which, by the way, is the real name of Apocalypse. And Beast reacts perfectly because he goes, oh, dear.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Oh,
it was so perfect. And then
it ended on a laugh. It ended on a laugh. You know how hard that is to do?
Yeah. All of that, and ends on a laugh. And then, by the way, then the only post-credit scene of the series.
Which rounds out that scene.
Yes, which goes back to the present. It's Apocalypse on Genosha. We've talked about this before. He is holding a burnt playing card, which is probably one of Gambit's. And he's like, so much pain, so much death. Which, of course, is insinuating Apocalypse bringing back Gambit to be one of his four horsemen, specifically death, just like he did in the comics, and just like we said they were going to do a month ago.
Well, and that was predicted in a previous episode when Professor X sees him in a dream and he turns into a skeleton.
Yes.
Which no one's even connecting that yet. But look, here's the deal. We're set up right now for the X-Men to be fighting across multiple times against multiple apocalypses. They're going to fight against Apocalypse in multiple ways.
That's what
and we don't know where Morph and Wolverine are. We have no idea when or where they are. We'll have to find that out too.
I thought they're not in the past.
We have they are not in any of those scenes. We do not know where they are.
Well,
I'm going to assume they're in one of those three places.
Yeah.
But there's also the chance that they're not.
Yeah.
Like what I think would be interesting is if they show up in the present.
Yes.
And as a surprise of I don't know why we're here, but we're here. Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. And also we saw the board, again, Days of Future Past board about where all the mutants in the world are. Scarlet Witch, by the way.
The next X-Men on there.
Yes, and Scarlet Witch, by the way, listed as off-world. What? Yeah. But Colossus is available. Iceman is available. Shadowcat is available. By the way, obviously Colossus is one of my favorite X-Men. I would love it if Colossus the full-time roster, right? Where he had 2 or maybe 3 episodes in the original run. I think would be great. Much like Nightcrawler's in the past. Nightcrawler's in the past. But again, it was great to see Nightcrawler become a main character in this X-Men run because he was, again, a fan favorite who had a couple of episodes in the original run, but wasn't really a huge focus. Then, obviously, after Genosha, Nightcrawler joins the team more full-time because they need bodies, they need ranks. I think Colossus and Magic and Shadowcat, and obviously you could do the Shadowcat and Colossus romance. Like, you could do so much with them, like, in the present. This is I love where this is going. I just loved everything.
It's the best thing the MCU has ever done.
I just loved everything.
Hopefully they don't get bloated and try and make 16 other versions of this show. Just stick with what you're good at. Season 2, Season 3. If you're gonna bring Spider-Man back,
give him his own show.
Do it right.
Yeah,
just do it right. Don't do what you just did and expand so fast we can't keep track of the characters anymore.
Yeah. By the way, again, I love with the cameos too that they basically made Iron Man and Captain America useless because after all, in the 90s, they basically kind of were in the Marvel universe.
It's kind of where they were at. Nobody really. Iron Man was not a big deal.
Iron Man was not a big deal until Robert Downey Jr.
Right. He
had one big story, and it was about his alcoholism up until that point.
And I would say Civil War, he was a pretty prominent bad guy.
Yes, but again, even that was kind of came about kind of during the hype of the movie, right?
I thought it was before that. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to look
I
it
want
up.
to say Civil War came out a few years before that. I don't think that was in 2008, but it was close.
It was very close.
Yeah. But I'm saying is like that's the first time I remember Iron Man kind of having a role. And it was really more on the coattails of Spider-Man.
Civil War was a year before the movie.
There you go. So again, and I'm going to say it again, it was controversial because he went against Spider-Man or for Spider-Man, depending on what part of the comic book you're in. But Spider-Man's what made Civil War so great because you kind of saw it through his point of view.
Yes, where he starts with Tony Stark, gets the fancy armor, and then joins Cap. But then, of course, it also leads to the worst Spider-Man storyline of all time, One More Day, because Aunt May gets shot. And then Spider-Man's like, I'm going to sell my friends to the Mephisto. And they ruined Spider-Man for an entire time.
They did. But the other thing in that storyline is Captain America was killed.
Yes. And then he basically gets, and then he comes back, and then he does like a time travel thing. Right. And he wonders there's Hydra Cap that comes later. And then DC's like, we're going to do the same thing with Batman.
X-Men 97 is the best thing the MCU has ever done.
Yes.
I'm sticking to it. If there was never anything else again at this point, I would be happy with that. I will probably rewatch this. It was that good.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it again. The Genosha Massacre my jaw was dropped.
Yeah.
You want to talk about going 0 to 100? Wow. That was amazing. Was that part of the Motendo episode?
No, that was after.
It was the episode after, right?
Yeah.
One of the best episodes of television I have ever seen. It's a standalone movie. I want to reiterate this just in closing, Ray. They did this in 10 episodes, 9, which were 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And the 10th one was 40.
Yeah.
That is master level storytelling. And this is the greatest compliment I can give X-Men 97. And I believe you will agree with me. This is the closest comic adaptation in screen cinema TV I have ever seen. This show, Ray, felt like I was reading a comic book.
Yeah.
Nothing else that they have done has accomplished that.
No.
The live action stuff, while fantastic, is its own thing.
Yep.
Okay. What if the other animation they've done is its own thing? I felt like I was going to the comic store every week with this show. Yeah. And that's not something that's been replicated on TV in some time. Since 1997.
Yeah.
When this thing ended.
Since the height of the mid-90s where every week we had Batman, Spider-Man, and X-Men.
And Ray, how long until Warner Brothers screws this up and brings back the animated series without Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill? How long until they screw that up?
Only 2 months, Lee, because they announced that their next animated series called Batman Caped Crusader, kind of a throwback to the darker Batman of the 40s, right? More detective, more noir.
Everyone's asking for it. Everyone's asking for that, Ray.
It's a combination of J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm, obviously, and also bringing back some of the writers from Batman Animated Series. So it could maybe not suck, but I'm going to hold my breath. The most curious thing is that the entire first season will drop on August the 1st on Prime. Lee, it's not like Warner Brothers has their own streaming service that might want to host a Batman cartoon, right? Oh, wait, they do, and it sucks. It sucks so much that they're going to Prime, a competitor in theory. Warner Brothers, you just suck so
Warner
much.
Brothers, can you just let James Gunn cook and get out of his way?
Ugh.
Can you just do that? I will give Mark Hamill credit.
To be fair, this has been in production from even before Gunn.
Just Warner Brothers sucks, man. I hope it's good. I do.
I hope it's great.
But we'll see what happens.
But I have very little hope because again, this has also been a project that has been in the works for so long that I just really wonder if at this point.
How about we say this? Batman peaked with The Dark Knight.
Yeah. That's fair.
Hasn't been anything that good since. That was the peak.
Yep.
All right. No offense to the Batman with the Bat Opera. It wasn't horrible.
It wasn't good.
It doesn't hold a candle to the Dark Knight. I'm obviously not negating Batman 89, but just the peak of Batman was The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Those movies were fantastic and fun and actually launched the MCU, believe it or not, because they had to respond.
Yeah.
And they did.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, Batman has always Batman was and now it's just like it's been a lot of hits and misses and a lot more misses lately. I really hope a lot of swings and misses. I really hope that this hits. I really do. I really want it to be good. I want a good Batman project. I love Batman so much, I just don't trust anybody right now who's working on anything Batman related. I did not like the Matt Reeves Batman. I've talked about that. I felt it was bloated. I felt it did a disservice to a lot of the villains. I felt it did a disservice to Batman. It made him look weak. And I get it. It's like, where's year one? No. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't want to see Batman walking through gunfire where bullets are bouncing off him because he hasn't figured out yet that bullets hurt. Give me a freaking break. Oh my God.
You don't like Batman monologuing throughout the film as an emo character?
I don't even mind Robert Pattinson. I don't even care, but I'm just like, God, give him a better script.
No, Ray. No.
Matt Reeves, go away. Go away.
No, they're making a sequel to that film.
No, nobody wants. That we don't need.
The Penguin's coming out soon on Max.
That nobody's watching.
Is it out already? I didn't even know that.
I think it's already out.
I didn't even know that. I have no desire to watch that.
Yeah, because Max sucks. They take everything, they put something good on, they take it right off.
Yep.
Or they promise to give you a movie like, what's it, the Acme movie, Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, and then they're like, no, tax write-off. Tax write-off.
Can't show it because it's tax write-off.
Tax write-off. Zaslav was at MSG, by the way. I think when the Knicks lost in Game 7, that's why they lost.
That's why they lost, yeah.
I hope he gets hit by a bus. Again, as usual, Warner Brothers get in front of the bus. One company that is a little bit of video game news this week. Some fun things announced, or at least heavily rumored. The one thing that was announced, the new Assassin's Creed Shadow, taking place in feudal Japan. We got the first trailer for that. Dual protagonists, again, one male, one female. People already getting up in arms about one of the protagonists being African American, or African descent. Even though there is he's a character named Yasuki, who of course is I hope I'm saying that correctly, is infamous actually in Japanese lore of being a black samurai. He actually comes from Japanese lore, and then of course they're like, and there's an Asian woman, and it's like, well, yeah, guys, it takes place in Japan.
It's a procreation, Ray, and we should be outraged about the Asian woman.
It takes place in Japan. They should probably have a Japanese person.
Outrage.
Probably should be Japanese. There should be some Japanese in there because it takes place in Japan.
Yeah.
Japan, right? That's where Japanese people are from. Can't stand the internet. Game looks great, at least from what we saw in the trailer. I think the trailer was
a great game, and they finally took some time to develop a new one instead of coming out with one every year.
Yes, I think Valhalla was a bloated mess. It was good, but it was not nearly as good as Origins or my favorite of the last trilogy, Odyssey. I hope this is going to kick off a new trilogy, because that's what they've kind of been doing now. Is they've kind of been taking breaks and then doing trilogies in a certain era, and I think that this is going to be. Their feudal industrial, feudal era.
It's a long time period too.
Yes. So they could definitely set a couple of games there. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward. November 15th, got a release date as well. November 15th, which is usually when Assassin's Creed releases. I am going to say this. I think this is going to be a Game of the Year contender. I'm going to say this right now.
That wouldn't surprise me in any way.
Yeah. Also because it's been a bad year for games so far. But I think this is going to be legit. This is going to be legit good. I think this will be really good. Something to look forward to. Something else to look forward to. There's been rumors. The Total War series. For those who don't know, Total War is a real-time strategy game and series. Typically set, they've done like Total War Rome. They've done like Total War like all throughout history. Usually like a Shogun, right? Like, so there is rumors that they are working on 3 Total War games, and one of them it's Total War Star Wars.
Was there a war in the Star Wars?
Might have been a couple of wars. Might have been a couple
of wars in the Star Wars. It's in the name, right?
Well, and that's the thing is like the question is going to be what time period will this game take place in? But obviously, I hope it's more of not the High Republic or Old Republic, but more of the like new era or even the original trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, you could do multiple eras. They've done that.
You could do Clone Wars. You could do a lot. But this feels like a natural fit. The Total War guys have done.
Do you call it Total Star Wars?
Well, I that's actually kind of brilliant. Yeah,
I mean, it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, Total War is the brand, so maybe they just keep it as Total War : Star Wars. But we'll see what they do. It hasn't been confirmed yet; it's just a rumor. But if this is the case, if this is true, that this is one of the many Star Wars games that are being worked on by this time Sega, who owns Creative Assembly and whatnot. I think this is a no-brainer, and I think this is a day one purchase, and I really hope we get more at Summer Game Fest next month. So,
ooh, that's gonna be good. Where's that at?
It's here in LA. It is here in LA, so there's gonna be a lot of news stories. Probably we're gonna get a lot of announcements and a lot of trailers, probably over the next 6 weeks in the game industry, which again only gives this credence and gives this more steam that this could be true and that we might hear more about it sooner rather than later. Speaking of the games industry, I played a bunch of games this week.
Did you?
Yes,
just a bunch.
A bunch. I've beaten 3 games this week, but we're only going to talk about 2 because I was really intrigued. Metroidvanias are one of my fortes, right? And there's been 4 already released this year. A game called Ultros, a game, the Prince of Persia Metroidvania, the new one, which was fantastic. And I will say this, still my favorite of the bunch. And then Tales of Kenzera Zao and Animal Well. 2 very different Metroidvanias. Animal Well, indie developer, brand new to the scene. Their gameplay is terrific. They get the best aspects of the genre to a T. The abilities, the movement, fantastic. There's no story. It's like you're a blob, you're trapped in a well with a bunch of animals. Here's some stuff, figure out the puzzles. Puzzles were great. The platforming was great. The action, the gameplay, great. Why am I here? Why am I playing this game? I am somebody who likes to have a story. I want you to tell me a story with the game. But very solid.
Accomplish the story too.
Yes, exactly. I want things to have purpose. Purpose matters. Not just figure it out and have fun. Sometimes that is a purpose, sometimes. But when I'm playing a game, I really like a story. The game's solid. I give it a 7.5.
Pretty good for no story.
Pretty good. I mean, very, very tight, very well done, but no story. The other game, Tales of Kenzera Zao, an EA original. Again, kind of an indie darling, but has EA behind it publishing it. Amazing story. Phenomenal story. It does such a tremendous job of tackling loss and grief and accepting that. And it is a heartfelt story about a son who loses his father and the stages of grief. And his adventure helps him overcome his grief. And it is brilliantly written. There are lines in this that I will just be etched in my mind, and sentiment, and just so well done. It has no right to call itself a Metroidvania. There is minimal backtracking. It really should have just called itself an action platformer, is really what it should have just done. I say this, if you look at it as a Metroidvania, you'll be disappointed. Look at it as what it is, which is really, there's a little bit of backtracking, but we're talking minimal. Like, I would say it is more an action platformer that happens to have a couple of fast travel points. But look at the story. If you look at it as an action platformer, it is very solid. It's not a Metroidvania, though. I would argue it barely does enough to qualify as that. And if you look at it as a Metroidvania, I would probably dock it more. But I'm looking at it as the game for what it really is, not what some moron on the internet decided to label it as. 8 out of 10. Wonderful writing, wonderful message. The gameplay is okay, but the story, I give this a slight edge over Animal Will. So there we go. Those are my 2 reviews of the week.
You said that you had lines that were etched in your mind. Do you have any of those off the top of your head?
There's one. It's just about. It's about, again, I don't want to spoil it, but it's about basically he's talking to the ghost of his father.
Oh, wow.
And he's overcome with emotion, and about he just wants his dad to be proud of him, and his father assuring him that you have lived a life of service and compassion. There is no way I could not be proud of you.
That's awesome.
And that damn, bleep me there, Zalvi. Like, damn, like that was a lot. That was very powerful.
I can see that being powerful. It's a little more powerful than Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
Yes,
it's a little bit better than that, but yeah, that's powerful, right? I mean, we don't talk about it enough on this show. The power of the stories of these games. And the immersion that video games provide within a story, whereas in cinema, you're along for the ride. In the game, you're a willing participant. And, when you feel like you're a character in a game and you're making decisions, it can feel very real.
Yes.
That's the best thing about video games, right? Yeah. Like, and this goes all the way back to our youth, in Zelda or Mario, which are silly now. I wanted to save the princess. I wanted to save Zelda, and it meant 100%. Something to me to save Zelda, right? But those are primitive now in terms of story. I shouldn't say that. They were the foundations of a lot of stories. But
yes, that's a better way.
That even then, I felt that like it was. I wanted to save the princess. And again, while that thought is outdated, you get in a story, you feel these characters, and that's the best part of gaming in my mind.
Yeah.
That's why I typically, when I game, which is nowhere near what you do, but like look at the games I play. They are a story that I am well immersed in. I play all the Star Wars games that I can possibly play. I play the games with characters that I know because I'm invested in those stories. Yeah. Not that I don't play games with characters that I don't know, but they're hard for me to get into.
Sure.
I played this game once, super unbelievable, but it was really immersed, where the Flyers could win the Stanley Cup. And I did it and then cried because it wasn't real. Yeah. I mean, I forgot the name of that game. It was so unbelievable that, well, I'll get back to you on the name of that game, but good for the reviews there, Ray. And thanks for diving in a little deeper than you wanted to there. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I believe you want to talk about IGN though.
Yes. There's one other gaming news story that broke just before we got to,
let me do the breaking news sound.
Now, breaking news with Ray Carcillo of Geeks Who Like Sports News Desk. Go ahead, Ray.
I'll do the keyboard.
So right before we went on the air today, it was announced that Ziff Davis, of course, the parent company of IGN, have acquired the Gamer Network, which includes Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, and so much more. And this is awful for the industry as a whole for a variety of reasons. You now have less voices, obviously, across the industry. You're seeing games media being consolidated under, really, you have like two big banners now. You have Game Informer and you have IGN now, probably the biggest left. And obviously, because of redundancies, we are expecting layoffs soon at many of the companies that have been acquired. This is a bad sign for the gaming industry. Phoenix Labs, another studio, closed down last week, 150 jobs lost. Folks, this is bad. We are seeing the game industry crater right now not in terms of profits, not in terms of sales, but in terms of people. We are seeing people being sacrificed left and right, and this is another bad sign when you're seeing the media side of things consolidate like this. Because, again, it's going to be more jobs lost, less diverse voices in the industry. And, so that is a big, big deal. Again, numbers and all that other stuff has not been disclosed as of yet, but this is a big deal that IGN is acquiring, the Gamer Network, which includes Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, and more. Lee, your thoughts on this dark Tuesday for the gaming industry?
The consolidation will end up being beneficial in the future, but it is devastating in the present.
Yeah. That
is my thought.
No, I mean, I mean, hopefully, yes, things will hopefully things will start to balance out again. I mean, but it feels like just when we feel we've reached rock bottom, we find a way to go further down. And this again,
it consolidates until it can't anymore, and then it's reborn. That's typically how it works. You got to go through this pain to get to the present or the future, excuse me. And those of you that are still standing afterwards will have a place in that, but not many people will be.
And that's the sad thing, is that, again,
is sad. I'm not shedding light on that. Like, oh, just wait, it's going to get better. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm saying that this has to happen for it to get better, unfortunately.
Yeah. So a dark day there. Again, that was breaking news that happened about an hour before we went on the air and started recording, and that's a big deal in the game industry. I'm curious how this is going to affect, again, Summer Games Fest. There were going to be people from these outlets that were going to be going to Summer Games Fest to talk about it and cover it. And now, probably a lot of them are not going. I mean, I have no idea. Again, layoffs are expected soon, but we'll see, and obviously have more on this as the story develops. But that, again, just broke. So that is a big, big deal in the industry. So,
now, what are we going to talk about next week with no X-Men?
Oh, man. That is a great question.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you think about it, we want to invite everybody to join our mashup this Saturday, which is going to be which pro sports franchise should rebrand to a geek property, because the New York Giants rebranded to the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to see what happens on that mashup when we go through an NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL team and rebrand them to a geek property that makes sense. You are not going to want to miss that this Saturday, or if you're listening to this in the future at any point, you could be listening to this.
Yes. No, yeah, we appreciate it. We always appreciate everybody's support. Again, reach out, geekswholiksports@gmail.com. Let us know how we did. Comments, questions, concerns, all that other fun stuff.
Sponsorships.
And sponsorships. Yes. Coke, Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Either one. And yes, and also don't forget, tomorrow we'll be live on the Geek Saga at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Probably giving live updates of the Rangers and Panthers.
Yeah, man.
With our good buddy Eugene.
Going geek for the week. Oh, yes. Going geek for the week. Just a geek for the geek of the week. No, going geek for the week.
Yeah, no, it is going to be that should be a lot of fun with Eugene. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, so until then, and until our matchup on Saturday, for Lee, I am Ray, and this has been another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everybody.